Right, so you want to start in UX design, but you have no clue where to go, where to start. Should you take a course? Should you take a boot camp? How should you start and how should you go about it? Good news is we have all been there, and this is completely normal. I have been there myself. I had no clue. Should I be taking boot camp? Should I be taking a course if I wanted to start in UX design? This is completely normal. In this video, I'll share with you some of the actionable steps that you can take to start into UX design if you are completely fresh grad or you have never worked in UX design industry before. So firstly, if you have never worked in a UX design industry and you just know very basic of what UX design is about, but you don't know how to really start as a UX designer, you probably will need to educate yourself on that. My personal recommendation is to always avoid these really expensive boot camps. The reason I say that, and I'm not saying that all boot camps are the same, but most of them are literally using the same content from another boot camps and just selling them as courses just to make money. Now, I have been doing UX design mentorship for so many designers around the world for the last 2 years. And number of times I have met those designers who have done a boot camp, and after the boot camp, they literally know nothing new. They come out and they have no clue how to apply for jobs. They don't have a proper portfolio, none of that. And literally it was a waste of money and waste of time for most of them. So I personally never recommend going for such boot camps. Now Google has free course or certification, and similar to that, there are so many other platforms that have really cheap or really small or free courses that give you a basic understanding of what UX design is about. So Google one, I've tried it myself. It is really basic, but it gives you some understanding. Similar to that, there are so many more. So go for one of these free courses or a really cheap course just to get the understanding, to understand if UX design is for you. Is it something you see yourself doing in the next 5 years, 2 years, 1 year? And if it is, then you go to the next step. The next step for you is to try to get an internship. Why an internship is really good for you is because it's going to give you a real life, real-time exposure of how it is to work as a UX designer in a digital product company or in a digital agency. So try to find yourself an internship which is focused around UX design. Don't just go for any internship because most of them are not even paid, but try to go for a company that has a really good digital product practice. Then you'll understand how the product cycle works. What does a product manager do? What does a UX designer do? How do they work together? What is a UI designer? And all these kind of things. You'll also understand which part of the UX design you want to be working in. So try to find yourself an internship. The moment you find an internship, the next step you will be doing is trying to build your portfolio while you are in internship. Now, building a portfolio could be two things. Either it could be real client projects on your internship, or if you don't have real client projects from your internship, you can start building some of the mock projects. What mock projects can do is that they can show eventually when you do apply for jobs, it can show those potential employers what you can really do. What kind of skill set do you have? You can do UI design or not? Can you do UX design or not? How do you do your research? How do you do user testing? How does a full process looks like? It gives them a really good insight. So try to do real client projects while you're in internship. But if you can't find those, then try to do some mock projects. If you can't find those, then speak to some people, some friends, some companies, and be like, hey, I want to do a free project for you. I can do the design and all of that for you for free, and I'll just use it in my portfolio. That's another way of getting a real client project in your portfolio. Now that you have a good portfolio, you have done some internship, now it's about trying to go and apply for UX design jobs. Now this is very, very important when you start applying for jobs. There are a couple of things to understand over here. UX design industry in general is quite a new industry. Now, it doesn't mean that UX was not there many years ago. We were always using UX design principles in web design, but UX design as a terminology is quite new to a lot of companies today, which means that a lot of companies do not really know what they're looking for when they're hiring a UX designer. So in that case, you have to really understand what your specialty is, what your skills are, and then you have to define the job role for them sometimes. Because when you go for job interviews, they might actually have a very vague idea of who and what they're looking for, and you have to ask the right questions to really understand if that job is for you or not. The other thing which is very important to understand is UX design is a part of a digital product design industry, right? So when we are working in digital product, it's a team exercise. You work with product manager, you work with the engineer, you work with the UI designer, and so many other stakeholders. So it is a team exercise, and a lot of companies, when they're hiring a really good UX designer, they're looking for a team player, they're looking for someone who can work with so many different people. So when you go for such interviews, always keep this in mind that A lot of UX design interviews are behavioral interviews as well. They are not only about design, but they're also about understanding you as a person, if you can work with a team or not, if you can work with other stakeholders or not. So keep that in consideration when you go for UX design interviews. There are so many platforms out there that have so many mentors that give free mentorship for new UX designers. You can literally book yourself an hour of free conversation with a UX designer who might be working at Apple or some really big company, and it can be really helpful for you to get some industry insight before you go for your next interview. So look for those platforms where you can get free mentorship instead of spending your time and money going for really expensive boot camps. Now, I don't mean that all boot camps are bad. Most of them do not, however, deliver that value. So spend that 6 months of bootcamp time into trying to get a really good internship or trying to get some mentorship from really good designers, and then you can speed up your process of becoming a UX designer. Now, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, just drop it in the comments below. I'll make sure that I reply to every question. Have a good day and best of luck.